There are NBA players who dunk, and then there are NBA players who make dunking feel unnecessarily personal. Shawn Kemp attacked the rim like it owed him money. Amar'e Stoudemire attacked it like somebody had just told him the pick and roll was optional. Both were 6 foot 10-inch power forwards. Both became 6-time All Stars. Both were terrifying in transition. Both played on legitimate contenders. And both had left behind one of those careers where you can't help wondering what might have happened if a few things had gone differently. But we're not here to decide who had the better highlight reel. We're comparing production, peak, accolades, team success, longevity, and legacy. 6 categories, one check each. The numbers tell part of the story, the context tells the rest. Shawn Kemp versus Amar'e Stoudemire. Let's settle it. Start with the career numbers, because this is where Amar'e immediately creates some separation. Kemp played 1,051 games and averaged 14.6 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. Stoudemire played only 846 games, but averaged 18.9 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. And here's the number that really gets my attention. Amar'e scored 15,994 career points. Kemp scored 15,347. So Stoudemire scored 647 more points despite playing 205 fewer games. Kemp absolutely has the rebounding advantage, and at his best, he was the more disruptive defender. This isn't one of those comparisons where we pretend everything that doesn't appear in the points column doesn't exist, but Amar'e was simply the more dangerous offensive player. His career true shooting percentage was 59.7%, Kemp's was 55.5. Stoudemire also finished with the higher career PER, 21.8 to 19.1, and somehow accumulated slightly more win shares despite all those missed games, 92.5 to 89.5. Kemp was a superior rebounder and probably gives you more defensive value. Amar'e gives you considerably more scoring without sacrificing efficiency. Production goes to Amar'e Stoudemire. Let's get to peak. Now it gets interesting. For Kemp, I'm taking 1993 to 94 season through 95 to 96. Across those seasons, he was remarkably consistent. 18.1 and 10.8, then 18.7 and 10.9, then 19.6 and 11.4. And that undersells him because Kemp was doing it efficiently while also providing serious defensive activity. His true shooting climbed from 59.3% to 61% to 63.1%. His PER during those 3 seasons was 22.9, 21.7, and 22.6. Then came the 1996 playoffs. Kemp averaged 20.9 and 10.4 over 20 games on 64% true shooting. And against the 72-win Bulls in the finals, he went for 23.3 points and 10 rebounds while shooting 55% from the floor. That is not shrinking on the biggest stage. That is showing up to fight Michael Jordan's Bulls and apparently forgetting you were supposed to be intimidated. For Amar'e, the cleanest 3-year window is 06 to 07 through 08 and 09. He averaged 20.4 and 9.6, then exploded to 25.2 and 9.1, before putting up 21.4 and 8.1 in an injury-shortened 2008 and 9 season. The efficiency is ridiculous. His true shooting percentages were 63.7, 65.6, and 61.7. In 2007 and 8, his PER reached 27.6 while he scored 25 a night. And Amar'e has one nuclear option that Kemp can't quite match, the 2005 playoffs. At 22 years old, Amar'e averaged 29.9 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 2 blocks across 15 playoff games. Then against Tim Duncan and the eventual champion Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, Amar'e averaged 37 points per game. 37 against Tim Duncan. That's the basketball equivalent of choosing the final boss on hard mode and then complaining that the game isn't challenging enough. Kemp was the better defender, he was the stronger rebounder, and his 96 postseason is outstanding. But Amar'e's offensive ceiling was higher, and his peak scoring efficiency is just too difficult to overcome. By the smallest margin so far, peak goes to Amar'e. Category 3, accolades. This one is considerably cleaner. Both men made 6 All-Star teams. Kemp was selected to 3 All-NBA second teams. Amar'e made 5 All-NBA teams, 4 second teams, and most importantly, first team in 2007. He was also the 2003 Rookie of the Year. And look at the company on that 2007 first team. Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, and Amar'e Stoudemire. That's a pretty good group to get invited to dinner with. 3 All-NBA selections versus 5, and Amar'e reached first team. Accolades to Amar'e Stoudemire. That's 3-0. And before Kemp fans start throwing things at the television, don't worry. The Rain Man is about to make this interesting. Team success. Because Shawn Kemp came closer to the top of the mountain. The 1993-94 Sonics won 63 games. 2 years later, Seattle went 64-18, the best regular season record in franchise history, and Kemp and Gary Payton carried that team all the way to the NBA Finals. Seattle then ran directly into the 72-win Chicago Bulls, which is approximately the equivalent of finally escaping Jurassic Park and discovering Godzilla in the parking lot. But Kemp was excellent. He averaged 23.3 and 10 in the finals. Seattle won 2 games after falling behind 3-0, and the Sonics made Chicago work for championship number 4. Amar'e played on outstanding teams too. The 05 Suns won 62 games and reached the Western Conference Finals. The 07 Suns won 61, and the 2010 team won 54 games and reached another conference final. And context matters. Those Phoenix teams repeatedly collided with San Antonio and the Lakers during a brutal Western Conference era. In 2007, Stoudemire also missed Game 5 against San Antonio because of the suspension following the Robert Horry-Steve Nash incident. Phoenix ultimately lost that series in 6. So I'm not turning never reached the finals into some personal indictment on Amar'e, but Kemp actually got there, and he wasn't along for the ride. He was arguably Seattle's best player in that finals. Team success goes to Shawn Kemp. Now let's talk about longevity. Neither guy gets the Karl Malone Lifetime Attendance Award here. Both careers had pretty dramatic second acts, but Kemp gives us more basketball. He played 1,051 NBA games. Amar'e only played 846. Kemp also appeared in 88 playoff games compared to 78 for Stoudemire. Now, Amar'e's argument is that he sustained higher level offensive production. He had multiple 20-point seasons stretching from Phoenix into his first year with the Knicks, but his knees changed the trajectory of his career dramatically. He played only 3 games in 2005 and 6, and by his early 30s, his role in minutes had fallen sharply. Kemp's decline wasn't graceful either, but there are 205 extra regular season games sitting on his side of the scale. That's more than 2 full NBA seasons. Availability matters, longevity goes to Kemp, and suddenly, the score's 3-2. Legacy. This might actually be the most fun category. Because Shawn Kemp has a legacy, statistics can't really measure. The Rain Man is permanently connected to the identity of the Seattle Supersonics. The dunks, the celebrations, the alley-oops with Gary Payton. That combination of power and violence around the rim helped define what an athletic power forward could look like in the 1990s. NBA retrospectives still center Kemp's high-flying Seattle years and that 1996 finals run with Payton. If this category were simply who produced the more memorable dunk montage, congratulations, Shawn, we're done here. But legacy has to include the larger basketball footprint. Amar'e was a central piece of the 7 seconds or less Suns, one of the defining offensive teams of its era. His screen and roll chemistry with Steve Nash helped turn the athletic big man into a devastating vertical scoring weapon inside a spread floor, something that looks extremely familiar watching basketball today. Phoenix later inducted Stoudemire into its Ring of Honor and officially retired number 32. And now there's another separator. In April of 2026, Stoudemire was selected for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, with the induction ceremony scheduled for August. Kemp may have the stronger cult following. Amar'e now has the stronger, complete historical resume. Legacy goes to Amar'e Stoudemire. Let's check the scoreboard. Production Amar'e, peak Amar'e, accolades Amar'e, team success and longevity to Kemp, and legacy to Amar'e. Final score, Amar'e Stoudemire 4 categories to 2. But 4-2 makes this sound easier than it was. It wasn't. Kemp was the better rebounder, the better defender. He had more durability, reached an NBA Finals, and played brilliantly when he got there. At his best, Shawn Kemp wasn't just a dunker. He was an efficient, physical, two-way All-NBA power forward on one of the best teams of the 1990s. But Amar'e Stoudemire was the superior scorer, had the higher offensive ceiling, earned more All-NBA recognition, produced more career points on better efficiency despite playing more than 200 fewer games, add the first-team All-NBA selection and his place in the 2026 Hall of Fame class, and that's enough separation. So the verdict is Amar'e Stoudemire. Not because Shawn Kemp wasn't great, but because we go one category at a time. Amar'e's advantage show up in more places. Evidence over emotion. Now I want your verdict. Kemp or Stoudemire? And more importantly, which category did I get wrong? Because that's where the real debate starts. Thanks so much for watching, and please join us again in our next video as we continue to break down greats of the past, one category at a time.